a French artisan crafted leather bag, a wax canvas jacket that I hope to be buried in one day, a marine grade knitted sweater that reminds me of the childhood I never had. Add to that a neo vintage dive watch that makes me feel a little bit like James Bond, and some business attire with magical properties that makes it really practical for travel and, dare I say, enjoyable to wear. I consider these to be some of the quiet luxury essentials that make spring travel that much sweeter for me. If you're the kind of person that appreciates really meticulously designed products, you put a lot of thought into the things that you buy because you view them as long-term investments, then you're probably in the right place. If, however, you could never fathom spending more than $20 on a t-shirt, you're probably gonna have a field day secretly judging, and that's okay. This is not intended to be a shopping list. This is me just diving into the why behind these investments and the joy that they spark along the way in my travels and day-to-day life. The last thing I'll say before I get into it is that half of the things on the list I paid for with my own money. The other half have been given to me by brands that I collaborate with in exchange for my honest opinion on them. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, I am incredibly particular, especially with whatever goes on my body. If I receive something from a brand that I do not feel comfortable recommending, I respectfully send it back. So just know that anything that has made it on this list are things that have rightfully earned their place in my suitcase. So let's get into it. I'm gonna start with really the most indispensable thing on here, and this is my wax canvas jacket from Freenote cloth. It's their rider's jacket. I feel like growing up in the 90s where the action movie heroes were rocking one jacket for the whole entire movie. By the end of it, they have bullet holes, blood stains, shrapnel. They've endured their whole entire journey wearing that same jacket. I feel like I've always romanticized about the idea of having like that one go-to indestructible jacket as you're going through the world. And for me, this is that jacket. Given the bipolar nature of spring, where you deal with a lot of wind and rain, and then it gets cold and hot, having a wax canvas jacket as like my shell, my armor, is what brings me the most joy. The beauty of wax canvas is that the more you wear it, the more it conforms to your body. It essentially becomes a map to all of your life's experiences, every single scuff, the patina that it develops, the crease marks, the annual ritual of re-waxing it. It's a jacket that rewards you as you age along with it, and that's what I love. Now, in the world of wax canvas jackets, there's a lot of different options. When I was on my quest, and I looked at Filson, Bradley Mountain, Barber, Gnu, etc., the things that stood out to me the most about this jacket, one, of course, the look. I think that's obviously very subjective, but having these pleats here in the front pleats are reinforced by these custom designed copper rivets, as well as like the copper buttons are beautiful. They partnered with a metal shop out of Kentucky to make those. Combine that with the liner. They have different colors, and it's also seasonal for the liners, but this is a 100% Japanese cotton flannel. It's super soft. On the inside, you'll see that on the arms, right? You get this flannel on the chest and on the back, but on the arms, you get this satin liner. And the beauty of that is that, especially when you have a thicker sweater or something under and you're layering, when you put your arms, they just glide right through. Makes it really easy to take on and off. They're using a 10-ounce Martexan wax canvas, which I think is a really good thickness. It's thick enough that it feels indestructible, but thin enough where when you go inside somewhere, you don't feel the need to take it off. And then the last thing, and really one of the things that stood out, it's not the only jacket that has it. The Iron Resin, like Cruiser or their Scout has it. The Tom Beckby jacket has it, but essentially in the rear part where the shoulders are, it's gusseted and elasticated, so you just get crazy range of motion. The downside to wax canvas is that it's a stiffer material, and that contributes to them not being as comfortable. If you're on a plane, you're throwing your suitcase up, like you wanna be able to like be nimble, and this jacket is incredibly comfortable. In my head, I'm imagining that my kids are gonna be fighting over this jacket when they're older, and at the very least, like they will associate me with that jacket and the jacket with me. So to my wife, if you're watching this, when my time comes, if this thing is still going, which I have a feeling it will, I'd be very happy being buried with it. God, that took a dark turn, but we're going with it. Next thing on the list is the watch. In the similar vein as the jacket, I love the idea of having just one watch when I'm traveling. I don't take it off. I can go in the pool with it, shower, sleep. I can dress it down, dress it up. And this Serica 5303 hasn't come off my wrist since I got it 5 months ago. It did for like 2 days and I went straight back to it. Serica's a micro brand out of Paris, 2 designers. You're either gonna love or hate their stuff, which is part of why I like them so much. This watch looks like a recovered artifact, some prototype from like the 50s or 60s, because it has this like beautiful balance of vintage and modern. If you look at the world of dive watches, there are thousands of watches out there, and the sad reality is the vast majority of the dive watches on the market today are just trying to be one of the quintessential dive watches, the Rolex Submariner, the Omega Seamaster, or the Blancpain 50 Fathoms, or a combination of them, right? This is a watch that, even though there's definitely like very subtle nods to vintage Omega dive watches, is very much its own thing, and I personally value originality in design. Some of the components that just really make this watch so unique to me are the bezel itself. So it's constructed with 2 different materials. The outer side that's polished is ceramic, and then the inner ring is brushed steel, which I think gives it like a really cool contrast. But yeah, it's just got this cool retro futuristic neo-vintage vibe going on. Another thing that I love about this watch is the bracelet, right? They've custom designed an end link that makes it look like an integrated bracelet. If you look at, for example, the Omega Seamaster, the James Bond watch, the No Time to Die one has like the titanium mesh bracelet, similar to this, there is no end link, and that's like a $12,000 watch. I think that, combined with the fact that it's tapered, adds so much to the wearability, the comfort. This is a $1,700 watch, which for anyone that's not like in the watch world, that's a lot of money, understandably, but I think for anyone that is immersed in the watch world, getting an automatic Swiss-made watch with a COSC certified movement, which is just a fancy way of saying they sent it in to a specific place, they paid them to certify that it's gonna keep the time at a specific threshold of accuracy, and it can guarantee that. So if the watch starts running too fast or too slow, the warranty will cover that. Combined with this build quality, this attention to detail, all of the unique custom pieces, 300 meters of water resistance, insane anti-magnetic resistance, which for anyone that's like traveling with magnetic chargers or magnetic cases, given the fact that a watch, like the internals are all metal, having the peace of mind that it's not gonna get magnetized, aka it's gonna go haywire and it's not gonna read the time, you're actually getting a lot of watch for $1,700. But yeah, I've gotten a lot of compliments on this watch. It's a watch that has just enough pop and personality that it'll spark a conversation without it being so flashy and in your face. And from a travel perspective, the beauty of this watch is that you can rock it with a t-shirt and jeans, or you can be in a tux, and it's like a freaking chameleon, blends in so well into so many different environments. That paired with the fact that the twin scale bezel, you get the dive minutes on the outside, but then on the inside, you get additional hour markers. So me personally, like GMT watches where you get an extra hand, additional processing power I need to use on vacation to figure out like the additional time zone. With here, you can just twist it, input your time zone back at home, which by the way, the clicking, the tactile experience of this bezel is, I mean, it's like a fidget toy. It is incredibly satisfying. That was really good. All right, let's talk cotton knitted sweaters. There's gonna be 2, one that's very fancy, expensive, and delightful. That's more of an heirloom, this guy, and then a more cost-effective option. But this is the bleu de chauffe seaman or Cancale sweater. I've been using this sweater nonstop for the past few weeks. When I'm rocking it, I can just picture myself in a black and white picture framed in some chalet with me like in a vineyard in the south of France drinking wine. It is very, very classy. Now, Bleu de Chauffe is a brand from the south of France. I'm gonna talk more about them towards the end, where I'll be featuring the pièce de résistance. They've gained a really special reputation for their leather and canvas artisan crafted bags. And they've taken that same attention to detail into some of the clothing pieces that they've introduced to their collection. And this knitted sweater, it's $270. It is a lot of money. I was hesitant at first, but the more time I've spent with it, the more I've like geeked out on all the little details. I've really understood like why this is truly like an heirloom, like lifelong, at least like a 10-year investment, I would imagine. but a few things that make this sweater incredibly special. First of all, it's made with a really dense, tightly beaded rib knit that's 100% organic cotton. So this is not only going to make it super warm, but like unlike most cotton sweaters that sag after a couple wears, this one keeps its structure. Whereas traditional cotton sweaters, you have about like 30% elasticity. With this one, you're at 5%. And like, if you look at the tension of the ribbing on the cuffs and on the hem, it's insane. Like, I've worn this thing a lot and it's absolutely kept its structure. The cuffs are still have great tension and it conforms around my body really beautifully. The other thing definitely worthwhile calling out is that unlike most mass-produced sweaters where they're just like cut and sew, essentially just like taking a roll of pre-knitted fabric, placing a pattern over it, cutting it and stitching everything together, where that fabric is like constantly under tension since it's being forced into a shape it wasn't knitted for. This sweater has been fully fashioned, which is a slower and much more deliberate process. What that means is that they're knitting every single piece to shape. If you look, for example, at the seams on the shoulders and the armholes, they're linked loop by loop and it creates a lower profile fit. It remembers its shape and it creates a much stronger bond. So if you look at the way the collar is integrated into the rest of the sweater, this thing feels like it could take a beating. This is a very densely woven, like heavyweight sweater. It has a marine grade weight. And so if you're traveling somewhere where it's gonna be chilly out, but you still want something that's breathable, this is fantastic, especially to wear under a wax canvas shell or something along those lines. Now, if you like the idea of having like a nice sweater, but $270 is just like way too much money, which I totally get. Another fantastic option is the LL Bean rollneck sweater. This is like a staple in their heritage collection. It's got that signature raw edge roll action going on in the neck, like the bleu de chauffe. Also uses 100% organic cotton, but as you can see here, the density is about half of that. It's a much looser weave, and so it packs down to about half the size when the weather's like in, you know, like the 60s, maybe with a little wind where you just want a little something when the sun's not out. This is fantastic, whereas this one is like 40 to 50 degree weather, maybe like in the 40s, it's windy, rock a shell over it. This one costs $89. You get a lot of bang for your buck. It's very, very comfortable. But as you can see on the seams, traditional cut and sew doesn't fit my body nearly as well. Like, it's not as form-fitting. I imagine from a longevity standpoint, these fibers being under more unnatural tension over time is not gonna last as long as the other one. And then the other thing that you'll see is just when I first got the sweater, it was, you know, like it fit me like a glove. But after wearing it like twice, it got like baggier. I'm sure like once I wash it, it'll retain some of its shape, but it just feels looser, baggier, saggier, and that's fine. But that's one of the things that you'll notice when you're jumping from still like a premium sweater, but to something truly luxurious and heirloom like the bleu de chauffe. All right, I'm gonna do a 180, depart from the natural material heritage stuff to something that is highly functional and compelling in its own way, especially for travel. But I wanna talk about business attire. Thank God that what I do, I don't have to like dress up like an executive every day. Being in tech sales, if I'm meeting clients in person or I have like a company event, yes, I'm gonna dress up. Or of course for weddings, but I think I can speak for 99% of men, at least within a certain age group. I'm sure in my parents' generation, it's a different story. Formal wear sucks. You look good while you're rocking it, but it's uncomfortable. I can't wait for the moment I get home just to take everything off. Secondly, you fart and it wrinkles. You have to be so careful with your movements just to keep everything looking good. When you're done wearing it and it's dirty, you got to take it to a dry cleaner. And when you're traveling, I do not take it through the airport because I want to be as comfortable as possible. But then you throw it in your suitcase and you got to worry about ironing it or freaking dry cleaning it when you get there. And if not, you got to take one of those like garment bags. Bluffworks is a brand that has solved for all of those things. I also want to thank them for sponsoring this segment of the video and just for opening my eyes to this. I didn't realize this existed. Now, they're not the only ones doing it. I'll recommend a few other brands at the end, but I'm not really like curious about what else is out there, to be honest, because what I've seen and felt, I've been really happy with. Now, if you look at this, I shot some shots that you're probably seeing as I'm talking right now 4 days ago. This is their Hopsack blazer, their Lennox dress shirt, and their Ascender chinos, all in a packing cube. They've been compressed in a suitcase sitting in my office for 4 days. I'm gonna take it out just so you can see wrinkling wise. Look at this. These are the pants, which by the way, these are like, they're chinos, which you can dress up or dress down. I have been like rocking these, like went to hang out with friends. I'm very picky with the pants that I wear, but they're legit, like very, very comfortable. Here's a shirt. As you can see, if I tuck this in with pants right now, especially when I'm putting the blazer over, up here, like this thing is fantastic. If I put on a cotton dress shirt, within 15 seconds, it's already gonna look like this. Since I've got it all, I'll just talk about it now, but this is the Lennox shirt. And the beauty of all these materials, I think in particular, the jacket is the one that impressed me the most in terms of the hand feel, followed really, these two are about the same, but I just don't like the feel of synthetics. To me, there's nothing more comforting than the feeling of cotton directly on you. Like a natural material, if it wasn't for you like feeling that it's got a little bit of stretch to it, but if you look super up close, I think even a very well-trained eye would never know that this is made from like a performance material. As you can see, like the mobility is crazy. Like this is like, if I was James Bond and I was like getting chased by a pack of ninjas in a motorcycle and I needed to like look good, I'd be rocking something like this because I would feel like the king of the ninjas rocking it. The beauty of Bluffworks is that it's super comfortable. You don't have to worry about the wrinkling. It has odor resistance to it. When you're done wearing it and it's dirty, you don't have to take it to a dry cleaner. So I think if I was an executive and I had to wear clothing like this every day, I would much rather be in something like this. And then when you can just literally throw it in your washer and dryer, and that's it. And another really nice travel utility touch that they add to their products, like on their pants as well as on their jacket, is these like incognito pockets, right? You get a ton of pockets like on the jacket. You get 1, 2 on the bottom, that's 3, 4, and then you get a zippered one. So I think when you're traveling, like it gives me anxiety having to like just throw my phone or like something valuable in a loose pocket. Having that incognito zippered pocket is really nice. And then you get the 2 additional pockets down here. Same with the pants, right? You get on the back side, you get 1, 2, 3, a zippered pocket here. And then on both sides, in addition to the standard pockets, you get zippered pockets here just to give your valuables that additional layer of security. Now, like I said, they're not the only ones doing this, but from what I gathered, they're the most like intelligently priced in the sense that they're not the most expensive and they're not the cheapest. But to me, like quality wise, it'd be hard to justify spending more money when the quality's already at a really great level, especially for someone like myself that's not constantly dressing up like this. But I'm definitely not one to skimp out when it comes to presenting myself, especially in a professional formal setting. But yeah, Ministry of Supply is supposedly like the most premium and also significantly more expensive. There's like some NASA engineering going into their stuff, and then there's also like Sudex, Twillery are some other brands that you can look at, and I believe those are cheaper and the quality also reflects that. Okay, 2 more pieces of clothing, 2 bags, and we're done here. By the way, this is not one of the things I'm featuring, but Bleu de Chauffe also sent me their heavyweight champion t-shirt. The thing feels fantastic, looks great on, but I'm gonna be featuring it on later videos. The shirt is definitely expensive for a t-shirt. I think for most people, there's a lot of stuff that goes into the construction that justifies it, but I've only used it like 4 times and washed it 4 times. And so I really wanna see how it holds up before I can like confidently recommend a shirt that costs this much. Now, overshirts. I freaking live in overshirts. This is like a chore style overshirt from a brand called Finisterre. In my winter essentials video, I featured 2 of their wool sweaters. One was a merino wool and one was just like a standard knitted wool sweater. They're from Cornwall, coastal town in the UK. Embedded in their DNA is this like cold water, sophisticated yet rugged surfer design language. The things that they make are very comfortable and cozy on one end, but they're also very rugged and feel like they're gonna last you a very long time. Now with spring, when the sun's out and it's like 60 degrees, yes, you can be in a t-shirt, but then it gets a little windy or maybe the clouds come. Having something like this is their Tonkin work shirt, 100% organic cotton, herringbone twill, which not only gives it like visual personality, like really nice texture, but it also reinforces the fabric. But I also dig like the length of it, having these utility pockets with these buttons. It creates a little segmentation, so when you throw your sunglasses or your phone, it makes it really easy to get in and out of. I took my daughter to the zoo last weekend, and when we got there in the morning, it was like low 60s. The sun hadn't come out. I had a t-shirt and this, and I was like really comfortable. Actually, at the beginning, because it was windy, I had it buttoned up, and then a couple hours went by, it was like low 80s, and I didn't bring sunblock, and I left this thing on, and honestly, like, I was surprised by how breathable and how comfortable it was at that 80-degree mark. But yeah, I definitely want to keep like exploring their stuff. Their wool sweaters, I literally, like 80% of winter, I was in one or two of those sweaters. If you've seen like any of my videos, there's a good chance I was rocking one of those sweaters in my winter videos, especially like down here in this freaking basement dungeon that gets cold. Now, the tonkin is a staple in their collection, but this is a new shirt that they just came out with, which is their Eddystone stretch. This guy is not 100% cotton, it's 97% organic cotton, also medium weight, but has 3% of elastane to give it a little bit of stretch. With this guy, I really dig this color. The contrast of the color with the Corozzo nut buttons is freaking awesome. But beyond that, I really like that instead of a traditional pocket here, you get this side access utility pocket that for sunglasses, easy access is fantastic. And then that paired with the fact that you have a teeny bit of elastane to give it stretch, but it still feels great. This one feels more like a brushed cotton, incredibly smooth and comfortable, but feels tough. And then you can see in the back part that it's gusseted. You have kind of like what you would see in like a Columbia PFG fisherman shirt, only in a much cooler, less dorky shirt. So you get like really nice mobility as well, which makes it for a great like travel overshirt. So yeah, like traveling in the spring, like if the temperatures are going to be between like 40 and like 80 degrees for my layers, having these two overshirts just to like have a little bit of variety, and then throwing in these two sweaters, this one for warmer days, and then this one for when it's really cold in my wax canvas jacket, I am pretty golden. Now, the last piece of clothing before I get into the bags are these Tailor Stitch chore pants. These are 12.5 ounce canvas pants that have been like double reinforced in the knee area, hence the double knee. And candidly, I've been on the search for double knee pants for a while, not because I like, yes, they're trending right now. I'm like almost like tired of seeing these little like 18-year-olds in their super baggy Carhartt jeans. Whatever makes you happy, it's fine. But as I've gotten older and valued comfort more and more, I grew up like wearing like very like slim form-fitting clothing, and I've evolved into wanting things that are more relaxed, breathable, and comfortable. The vast majority of the double knee pants that I've tried on are like excessively baggy. I'm not a tradesman. I don't work in like construction or anything that would require like hardcore heavy duty pants. But for me, I still like having something that's like really rugged and comfortable, whether it's like for my motorcycle or when I'm traveling, just knowing that I have an indestructible layer on me. These guys, like a pair of leather boots, when you first get them, they're pretty stiff, but the more you wear them, the more they conform to your body, the more they reward you. The two things I really like about these in particular, they're stone washed, right? So they have that like pre-aged vintage look and feel to them. And then the other thing is just that the fact that they're not overly baggy or bulky. I feel like they fit me really nicely. When my wife saw me rocking those, let's just say like having kids now, Wolfie's not getting the action that he once was, but when she saw me rocking these, she gave me the look like game over. So we'll take it. I also think you get a lot of pant for how much they cost. If you sign up for their email newsletter, you get a 20% discount. They're typically $150. So with that 20%, I think they turn out to be like $120. I feel really good about spending $120 on these pants. Okay, let's wrap things up. So toiletry bag. I did a video like 6 months ago talking about my favorite toiletry bags. This was one of my favorites on the list. It wasn't the number one because the number one is like my most like functional, practical one in terms of like maximizing every milliliter of volume in there. which is the air dop kit, and I still love it. It doesn't spark the same level of joy as this one does. And if you were to tell me like, hey, I could only keep one forever, which one would it be? It would be this one, hands down. This is the Waterfield Designs toiletry bag. I want to say it's listed as like 2.9 liters, but the overall footprint, especially when you're not using all of the space, feels significantly smaller than a lot of like the 3-liter toiletry bags that I've tested, like the Bellroy or the Peak Design ones. It's $89, so it's a lot of money for a toiletry bag, but what you're getting is a bag that is handcrafted in a shop in San Francisco. Waterfield Designs has been doing this for 20 plus years. Their materials are top notch. You get full grain leather panel here, then a heavy duty wax canvas here. There's nothing super fancy. It's just 4 slip pockets here where all my things fit in here. You could put like bulkier things here in the middle if you want to, but I don't. The main bulky thing I travel with is an electric razor, and I'll just put that in the suitcase. And as you can see, it closes really slim. The construction is top notch. The wax canvas makes me incredibly happy. The zippers, despite being PU coated, are incredibly smooth. And then one very like tasteful little feature here is that you have these 2 little slip pockets here, and the intention with them is that you can put your toothbrush here and it'll stay up, so when you're at destination you can just have your toothbrush standing out, or your razor, whatever it is that you might want to put there. I think if you're trying to gift someone something nice that they'll have forever, guys in general don't put a lot of thought into their toiletry bags. Most dudes just have like a Ziploc bag. I feel like this is a really good like buy it for life present. And then the last thing on the list, if you watch my channel, you know I'm a backpack guy. Like that is the core, the bread and butter of what I talk about. This is the leather Zeppo business bag, the single version from Bleu de Chauffe. I got this thing like 3 weeks ago, and every time I leave the house, it's the bag that I've been grabbing. I did recently like a top 5 EDC video of like my favorite backpacks, and you know, as I've been exploring and fine-tuning my preferences, one of the things that I've been leaning more and more heavily into is just the life behind products, the emotions, the joy that they invoke. And some of the bags that I have that check off the most boxes that you can say on paper are perfect bags. It's a bit of a sterile experience, right? And a bag like this has completely validated all my sentiments about how much value I truly place in products that can invoke that level of emotion. Now, I think this is a bag that to fully appreciate it, you really have to understand the why and the how. Despite this being a brand that looks like it's been around for 100 years, it was founded in 2009, and the guy who founded it, he worked for the Richemont Group. They own Cartier, IWC, JLC, like all of these luxury watch brands. And from what I gathered, he created a brand focused primarily on bags, but he wanted to change the way these bags were made. And so one of the things that makes the brand super special is that they're artisans. They only work 4-day weeks, 35 hours. I wish that was the case for me. So they're happier people. But he takes it a step further. Unlike a traditional factory where you have specific people with specific roles, the person that cuts the leather, the one that adds the zippers, the one that adds the handles. Every single Bleu de Chauffe bag has been made by a single artisan from beginning to end. They cut the leather, they stitch the handles, they add the hardware. And so with every bag, you'll see that it comes with a tag with the date of fabrication and who the specific artisan that made this bag. Now, this one in particular is like in the mid $600 range, which I know is a lot of money, but if you look at all of the details, this is vegetable tan leather. This front panel here, they're taking a very specific section of the leather that's a more low stress leather for that specific functionality. The brass clasp on this guy is incredibly satisfying. It's also, you know, with a lot of these heritage bags, you're dealing with traditional straps. Oftentimes there's 2 of them. It's kind of a pain to get in and out of. Here it's a lot easier, and also it's freaking beautiful. You can see the branding here, the raw leather here, all of the hardware touches are insanely nice. The shoulder straps are absolutely beautiful with this like felt liner, surprisingly very comfortable. Well, when I say very, relatively speaking, for a leather bag. This isn't like an air backpack on you, of course. Here on the back, you have a luggage pass-through, which I'll be doing a dedicated review on this guy. It'll be coming out in about a weekish, but just stay tuned for that. And you have a surprisingly good amount of volume. The liner, you have this like felt removable laptop sleeve that you can throw your laptop in there, or just have it as like a big stash pocket if you don't want that in there. Every single detail is so refined, and while $650 is a lot of money, if you're looking at a fully leather bag for men by itself, like you're probably gonna be at least in like the $400 or $500. If you look at Tumi, right, like if you work in an executive setting where you'd probably want to be rocking something like this, like if I wore a suit and tie for work, this is what I'd be taking into the office, especially if I'm not commuting super long distances. You have, you know, probably 95% of guys that, given the choice, they'll buy a Tumi bag because like it's a status symbol and whatever. It is what it is. Like, I'm not going to judge. They're very well made bags. They were built better before Samsonite took over, and those are bags that you're paying $600, $700, $800 for. The ones that are mainly ballistic nylon, they have leather accents throughout. They're still very nice bags, but they're mass produced in China. This is a bag that is manufactured with an insane attention to detail by a single skilled artisan in the south of France. And to me, like, between this and a Tumi, I mean, this is so much more tasteful. This is the first time I took this bag out. I met up with a couple friends to grab beers. I went to order a beer, and within 10 seconds, I had someone that was in the line behind me to order already complimenting the bag. When I took it to the table where we were sitting, the person that was like taking care of us, the server, was like, "That's a sexy bag." I've owned many bags that I think are beautiful bags that I've never received a compliment on, but I'm excited to do like a much deeper review on this guy. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Like, what are your quiet luxuries, the things that you feel like most people would judge because you spent a lot of money on, but the amount of time that you've had them, the joy that they've sparked in your journey have made them worthwhile. Curious to hear it. And I'm also excited to get people saying you're effing crazy for including some of these things on there. Best of luck. Cheers.